Welcome to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life. My name is Kyle Case, and I'll be your host on this amazing journey as we attempt to help you get the most out of your life. Today's guest, Krista Tate, recently moved to St. George from Utah Valley and is excited to begin a new chapter in her life. A wife, mother of 3, and grandmother of 4, she enjoyed being active when she was young, even though organized sports were never really part of her life growing up. In her 30s, shortly after the birth of her youngest child, she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Years of fatigue, inflammation, and medication made everyday activities challenging, and she wondered if those limitations would define the rest of her life. While these symptoms thankfully diminished over time, she still wasn't very active for over a decade. But everything changed when a friend invited her to try high-intensity circuit training at her gym at age 48. As her strength and confidence grew, so did her belief that she could accomplish difficult things. Since then, she's completed multiple Grand Canyon rim to rim hikes, hiked Half Dome despite a fear of heights, learned to ski at age 52, and even has gone skydiving twice. Krista's story is a powerful reminder that it's never too late to rediscover your potential and embrace new adventures. Krista, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You've done some pretty fun stuff.
I know, and a lot of it's recently.
Challenging stuff as well. And recently, okay, well, we're going to get into all of that. We're going to talk a little bit about your diagnosis with Crohn's disease and your journey and battle there. But I got to start off with the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Like, there is a reason the Grand Canyon is called Grand. It's big, right?
It is big.
It's big. And you have hiked from one rim down into the bottom of the canyon, back up to the other side, and then just so that you didn't have to have somebody pick you up on the other side, you just decided to turn around and come back to your car.
That's right. Didn't want to inconvenience anybody.
Well, tell us about that experience. First of all, let's start at the beginning. When did you decide this is something I want to try?
Well, I actually, my husband did it first.
Okay.
And he went with a couple of friends, and he had such a great experience, and he is not a hiker, doesn't love to hike, but he said that it was just such a breathtaking and spectacular hike that it made the hiking part all doable.
Yeah.
So we just decided to get a group together and try it. And so we had my husband, my son and daughter-in-law, and then a few really good friends, and then friends of friends. So the group ended up being quite large the first time we did it. But as we started training, I thought, okay, I'm just going to do rim to rim, which is about 24 miles.
Okay, I was going to ask you the mileage.
Yeah, it's about, depending on the route, but you descend about 5,000 feet in elevation and then cross the Colorado River, and then you ascend about 5,000 feet. And usually that's in the heat of the day. So it is a long hike, but the really hard thing is you usually are dealing with heat.
Yeah.
So, but as we did our training hikes that spring, I just thought, maybe I could do both ways. I don't know. Maybe I could. And so after that first day, I was feeling good. And so I hiked back with the rest of the group, and it was an awesome experience.
So how long does it take to get from one rim to the other?
Oh, it depends. I'm not sure that first time how long it took us. It was probably close to 12 hours.
Okay.
You know, you take breaks, you stop at Phantom
of course.
Ranch down at the bottom of the canyon and drink a lemonade and gird your loins to get ready to go up the other side.
Because that's what it takes, because you're going to go up at that point. You're 5,000 feet in elevation gain. So so you go from one side to the other side, and then you come back.
Yeah.
And you said that you had a pretty good group of friends there.
Yeah.
There is something about being surrounded by support and people that you know and trust. There's also something about shared suffering that kind of bonds you together, isn't there?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
No, it was really an epic experience. And I think you're right. I think that adage of, if you want to go fast, do it alone. But if you want to go far, do it with friends. And I think, too, if you want it to be more meaningful and just a sweet experience, you do it with the people that you love.
I love that you mentioned that because there is so much truth in that. And we see that here at the Huntsman World Senior Games. Obviously within teams, you come and play as a basketball team or a volleyball team, a softball team, a soccer team. You build those camaraderies, those relationships, those friendships that mean something, that are empowering, that give you the extra boost when you're not feeling up to it. All those things are true. And I know you definitely experience that. We also have athletes, even in individual sports, that have the same experience. They've got maybe a training partner, maybe it's a doubles partner. And even so often it's your competition. Within the senior games that gives you that little extra, the advice, the encouragement, the good job. But there's something really powerful about doing things together with people that you know and love and trust. You agree with that?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And you get to cheerlead each other all along the way.
So you did this experience the first time. How many times have you done it?
So I was counting. I think I've done rim to rim to rim 4 times.
Okay.
And then I've done rim to rim twice.
Okay. That's a lot of hiking.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about heat. You mentioned that that's an aspect of this hike, and it has to be. The Grand Canyon is hot.
Yeah.
Do you guys go at night? Do you just do it during the day and make sure you're hydrated? How have you done that?
We haven't ever done it at night, but we just are careful with our hydration and electrolytes. The first time we went, we did have someone in our group who ended up having to be life-flighted right at the end of the hike.
Yeah.
He ended up being okay. But it can be a little bit scary if you aren't careful with all of that. So we would start early in the morning and then try to be out in the, late afternoon.
Okay. So I think it's worth emphasizing that this is not a hike for the faint of heart. It's not one that you just necessarily wake up in the morning and decide, I'm going to hike the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim. You did some preparation. You put some time into it.
Right.
I want to ask you this. If you had a chance to talk to your teenage self about hiking rim to rim to rim, what would your response have been as a 14-year-old girl?
I would have just laughed. I would have laughed. I have to say, my parents, they were big hikers.
Okay.
And most of our
your family
vacations were hiking.
Yeah.
And I used to moan and groan and think, why can't we just go to a beach like a normal family?
Like a normal family, right?
And I really I complained a lot about it. I just didn't love it when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I think I would have been surprised that I would have taken it up and enjoyed it so much.
But you have.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that it's a part of you now.
Yeah. And my dad passed away 10 years ago. And so he never really got to see that.
He never got to
my
see his
mom
hiker girl.
loves it.
Oh.
She loves that it's something that I enjoy.
Yeah. I love that too for your mom and for yourself. A bond that you can share. That's growing up, right?
Yeah.
I think we all experience that. We learn to appreciate our parents when we become our parents.
Right. And they might have the right idea.
Yeah. At least in some cases, they may have been right all along.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about Crohn's disease. First of all, tell us what it is. What is?
It's an inflammatory autoimmune disease in your GI tract.
Okay. Does not sound fun.
Yeah.
So you get this diagnosis. That's got to be heartbreaking and frustrating. Were you sick before you got the diagnosis and trying to figure things out, or was it something they found early on?
Yeah. So I was 30 years old and I was pregnant with my daughter, my third child. And I just thought, wow, I'm having a really hard pregnancy.
Yeah.
This is tough. I'm not sure what's going on. But then I had her and the symptoms persisted.
It didn't get better.
So it was a few months for them to figure out what it was. My symptoms were kind of interesting. I felt like I had the flu all the time. I just was achy and feverish. And I my joints hurt. I felt weak all the time. And so it kind of manifested interestingly. But I was grateful for the diagnosis, because it just I knew what it was,
what you were going through.
Yeah, and they could treat the symptoms.
Okay, so you had an element of gratitude, which I can understand that. One of the worst things about health issues is when you don't know what it is. And you go from doctor to doctor and month after month and year after year in many cases, and you just never know what the problem is.
Right.
So there had to have been an element of like, okay, well, at least now we know what it is.
Absolutely.
But there had to have been other like emotional responses as well. Like, why me?
Yeah.
Like, what were you going through at that time?
Yeah, I think it was hard. I remember going to the park one day with my kids, and I was trying to swing my daughter, and I was pushing her in the swing. I'm like, this is hard. It's hard to push her. I could just feel achy. And I thought, I am 31 years old, and I feel like I'm 100, And so I think there was an emotional toll.
You have to be asking, is this my life now?
Yeah. Is this what the rest of my life is?
So I'm sorry, I don't know. I have some ignorance in this area, but is there a cure for Crohn's disease,
There's
or does
not a
it work its
cure.
way out, or what? So you're obviously feeling much better now. So kind of what happened there?
Well, I think, with management, keeping inflammation under control, it just helps it to not progress as much. And everyone's case is different.
It's different, right.
But my doctor said I would probably age out of some of the symptoms.
Okay.
And I really do feel like I have.
That's a blessing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you went through this period in your life where things were hard. You said even just pushing your daughter on the swing was kind of a burden, and you never want that, right? You never ask for that.
Especially when you're young.
Yeah,
You just don't expect that.
Yeah. But thankfully, the symptoms seem to have subsided for the most part, and obviously you're taking care of yourself. You're looking at inflammation. What are some of the things that you're doing to keep inflammation in check?
I think getting enough rest, eating well, exercising, it all helps.
All the basic answers. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I do want to talk about even though you started feeling better, activity and organized sports hadn't really been part of your life, and organized activities. Right. But you're living your life and you're taking care of your kids, and many of us go through that phase in life where that's just what life is. That's what we do. But you got an invitation. You said when you were at age 48.
Yeah.
Tell us about that invite.
Well, I have a friend who has always been very, she's always worked out. It's always been a part of her daily routine.
Okay.
And she invited me to go to Orange Theory, which is a high-intensity workout.
Yes.
Coach-led. And I just thought, I don't know if I want to do that. I mean, I've never been a gym person. And really the most that I had exercised was I'd gone on walks and on bike rides, but very casually, and keeping up with your kids. I mean, I was active, but not consistently nor at a high intensity. So
there had to have been a level of intimidation. I'm sure many of us would feel that, right?
Yes.
This is a brand new thing, but not only just a brand new thing, it's a thing that if you know anything at all about it, it's difficult.
Yeah. But again, you've got a friend there, and you're like, I've got a cheerleader, I've got support. And I trusted her, and so I went and gave it a shot, and that was almost 9 years ago.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was looking, and I think I've logged almost 1,800 classes. So I've been pretty consistent over those years.
Yes, that is consistency.
Yeah.
Did you feel like we kind of toss this word around here at the games, but did you feel like you immediately had an affinity or an addiction for it, or did it take time to build up to it?
It did take some time. I mean, it was hard.
It wasn't instant.
Yeah, it was hard, and so I started out more slowly.
Yeah.
But I think within that first year, I really liked it, and I was probably going 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay, so you really did jump into it.
Yeah.
And it is a tough workout. I've done one Orange Theory class, and it's a tough workout. So you really need to, like, as you said, you have to kind of bolster your courage or gird up your loins to take on a class. But congratulations on the consistency. And obviously it feels like it's made a positive impact in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it has. It has. I think at that age, you start to lose muscle.
Yeah.
Women complain about brain fog. I definitely was feeling that a
Yeah,
little bit,
yeah.
and it has helped in all of those. I think I have better endurance, definitely more muscle, and better clarity. So
Do you feel like the change was mental, emotional, physical? All of the above.
all, yeah,
Yeah, and
for
you've had obviously some great success there. So, once again, congratulations. I want to backtrack a little bit now, back to the Grand Canyon. You've done it multiple times. You've experienced it. You kind of know what to expect when you go, even though that doesn't make it easy. It's still a challenge.
Right.
What do you think is the biggest lesson that the Grand Canyon has taught you?
Oh, that it's all about putting one step in front of the other.
Okay.
I think that you've just got to take that first step in anything, whether it's something that's scary or that you just take that step, and it's just a series of steps. And that's what life is.
It's so true. I think there's so much, such a strong correlation and analogy between physical activity and sports, in your case, hiking and life. No one goes from the couch to a world record 100-meter sprinter in one day.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. You don't stand up and break that record. It takes time.
Right.
It takes patience. It takes consistency. It takes persistence. It takes all those things. And I can imagine that hiking the Grand Canyon has got to be all of that in a microcosm of, several hours.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, what a great lesson. And I think that obviously seems to have manifested in your life as well.
Yeah.
So again, congratulations on that. I want to talk about skiing. So skiing, obviously a very popular sport. Many people ski. This is something you decided to pick up at age 52.
So crazy. I've lived in northern Utah my whole life.
Okay, greatest snow on earth.
Right? And it just never appealed to me. I always thought I would just be too cold. And my husband skied before we got married and loved to ski. But, money and time
Life
and
happens,
everything,
yeah.
he didn't continue with that. But I have two amazing daughters-in-law, and they both ski. And I could see the writing on the wall that if
This is gonna happen. It's
grandkids were going to ski, and I didn't want to be left behind.
Yeah.
So
at age 52, you decided to pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you take lessons, or did you learn from your family? Or?
Yes. So I took a lesson with my second son, and then we just started going. And luckily, it was the year that we had the best snow in years.
Okay, so you had a great intro.
And so every week it was snowing. We were getting powder, just the perfect conditions to learn in. And so we would go up, and often I would just go by myself. I lived about 20 minutes from Sundance.
Okay.
And so I would go up, and I just skied all winter long and just loved it.
So again, and this has been your experience in more than one case, but an invitation from someone that you know and love and trust, implicit or explicit.
Right.
But either way, the invitation was extended.
It was on the wall.
It was on the wall. You knew it was coming, but you decided to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we miss out on opportunities because of fear or discomfort? And how do you get past that? You've been able to do that on multiple times, but how do you get past it?
But I think I don't do that always. I think and maybe sometimes it's fear, but it's also a complacency of just saying, I know what I like. I know what I do well, and I'm not going to try anything else. And so I have to push myself all the time.
Yeah. And you have done that. You have a self-proclaimed fear of heights.
Yes.
And yet you've done the Grand Canyon, which you could say, well, it's just a step at a time, right? But Half Dome, like, you're dealing with heights there.
Yeah.
Talk about that experience. When did you decide to hike Half Dome, and how did you get over your fear of heights there?
That was, again, a collective consensus. My husband and I were visiting Yosemite about 5 years ago.
Okay.
With my sister and her husband. And we did some little hikes, and had a good time. And then we saw Half Dome and we're like, that would be so cool to be able to hike that. And so they have a lottery permit system, and we thought we'll all put in for next year and just
increase your chances. See if someone gets drawn out, right?
Right. And my brother-in-law got a permit.
Okay.
So we all started training, and we did it that next fall. And the hike itself is breathtaking. You hike through redwoods and by waterfalls. It's just so cool.
Yosemite National Park.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so cool. But then you get to the dome, and there's just this steep granite rock that you're hiking up, and you just hold on to cables. And my sister's a little bit of a daredevil. We got up to the subdome, and we weren't sure if we wanted to get all the way to the top, go to the top. The clouds were coming in, and we weren't sure. And she said, "Let's just do it. Let's just do it." And so we just followed her up.
Yeah.
And it was great. I didn't look side to side. I just looked at my husband's feet that were right above me.
Focus
and just
on what's
followed
important,
him.
right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about fear. Like, we, as human beings, we have fear for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a protective function. How have you been able to decide when it was fine to overcome the fear and jump into it, and when it was time to be like, well, maybe there's a warning system here? Or have you figured it out?
Yeah,
You're still working on it.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to do anything that's terribly dangerous. I think maybe skydiving's the most dangerous thing, but you're with an instructor who's, well prepared and knows what he's doing. So I don't know. I think a lot of times I've just found that it's good to push yourself a little bit, good to push outside of that comfort zone. And it makes life a lot more fun.
Yeah. There is something about an adventure that just really spices everything up.
Yeah.
So you mentioned skydiving. I wanted to get to that. We've talked about multiple experiences that you've had that were maybe outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It sounds like skydiving was another one of those.
Yeah.
How did this come about?
Again, it was actually the same friend who invited me to Orange Theory.
Okay.
She said, "Let's go do it." You need to have her on this podcast.
Maybe we do. Yeah, she sounds like she's very adventurous.
She wanted to try it, and I said, "Okay, let's do it." And it was so thrilling, and it wasn't nearly as scary as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And the views that you get and the rush that you get were just incredible. It was just great.
I will say I have skydived once as well, tandem, just like you did. I had that same experience. I was nervous, but not terrified, but nervous,
Yeah.
But everything you said is so true. The view, the thrill, the excitement, it's so weird because you think that you're going to feel the falling. And I didn't really feel the falling. You feel the wind, you feel the rush, but it's a sensation that's hard to explain.
It is.
But I would recommend it.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of people out there like, it's not for me. I'm never going to do it. But I would recommend it.
Yeah. And it even felt different. Even though I'm afraid of heights, it just felt different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, again, congratulations on stepping outside of that comfort zone and doing something amazing. And it adds to your list of adventures.
Yeah.
If you could go back, we talked about going back to your 14-year-old self who hated hiking and got dragged around by your parents. If you could go back to your 35-year-old self in the midst of Crohn's disease and inflammation and just fatigue and tired and symptoms and everything, what would you tell her?
Oh, that life is long.
Yeah.
And be patient. And be kind to yourself. My dad, when we would hike when I was young, and I was complaining, he would always say, I would ask, "How much further?
Is it much further?
How much further?
Is it much further? Yeah."
And his favorite saying was, "Oh, it's just around that bend. It's just around that bend." And we used to chuckle about that because we knew it was never just around that bend.
Right.
There was always going to be another bend, and I think that's just life. Life is a series of bends, and sometimes you get to a bend that is rocky and steep, and you have to get through that. And then you go to a bend that has a beautiful view. And I think that the rocky and steep ones never last forever. You get to the beautiful views.
Oh, that's such great advice. Such great advice. Thank you so much for joining us today. What's next on the list of adventures? Do you have something planned, or are you waiting for the next invitation?
I need someone to invite me. No, I think more hiking, definitely. And there is a new Via Ferrata in Vernal, Utah.
I have not done it, but I am aware of it, and I would love to do it.
It's on my radar.
Yeah. So for those who don't know that phrase, what is a Via Ferrata?
Well, how would you explain it? I think it started in Switzerland or somewhere over in Europe, and they put iron steps and chains and into the mountainside so that you could climb it. Yeah. And so you're very exposed, but you're also you have a rope.
Yeah.
So
there are safety measures.
There are safety precautions.
You're definitely harnessed into a safety device, but
you probably feel pretty exposed.
Yeah, you're still also climbing up a cliff face on little iron rungs, as they were. So, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'll be interested to hear how that goes for you if you end up going, and I would love to experience that myself. So, good luck with everything you have coming up.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you for joining us today. Just a couple of things to wrap us up here. The clock, ladies and gentlemen, really is ticking. Please, please don't miss out. September 1st is the last day to register for this year's Huntsman World Senior Games. Secure your spot. You can do that, as well as find all the information that you need about dates, the venues, the divisions at seniorgames.net. The games will run from October 5th through the 17th of 2026. So put that on your calendar and then plan to be a part of the games this year. Next week, Tiffany Gus is an exercise physiologist, coach, educator, and founder of the High Performance Aging Program at Intermountain Sports Performance, helping adults improve fitness, function, and longevity through both her professional work and personal passion for healthy aging. A lifelong endurance athlete, she has more than 175 triathlons under her belt, and 24 of them have been Ironman finishes. Tiffany combines her expertise with firsthand experience. She's also been a multi-time guest on the Active Life, and she always has something amazing to share. So don't miss that one. If you've enjoyed the show, and we hope that you've enjoyed the show, be sure to get all the education and inspiration on the Active Life by subscribing wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also find this and all of our previous shows at seniorgames.net. We'd love it if you take a moment and give us a rating and write a quick review about this episode. Heck, ask questions or start a conversation online or recommend the show to a friend. All of that really helps us grow and spread the word. Today's inspirational thought comes from the English business magnate Richard Branson, who once said, "If your dreams don't scare you, they might be too small." Until next time, stay active.